Over the years, I've been fortunate enough to win and place in some major photography competitions, including Overall Photographer of the Year titles, international awards, and category wins across multiple organisations. I often get asked how I approach competitions, how I choose my images, and whether there's any strategy involved. So I thought I'd finally make a video about it. What most people don't realise is that much of this work was created whilst living with a chronic illness that often leaves me housebound for weeks at a time. Photography competitions became far more than just awards for me. They became motivation, purpose, community, and over time I also realised that winning competitions often has far less to do with luck than people think. So in this video I want to share not only my personal journey with the competitions, but also strategies, mistakes and lessons that have genuinely helped me to succeed. I want to talk about why I enter competitions, how my approach has changed over the years, what I think genuinely helps people to do well, and a few lessons I've learned along the way. So why I enter competitions? For some photographers, competitions are mainly about prizes, titles or recognition. And all of those things are, of course, very nice. But for me, competitions became something much more personal. As many of you already know, I have ME, or otherwise known as chronic fatigue syndrome, and I've lived with it for over 20 years now, and over time my health has become more limiting, and there's periods where I can barely leave the house for weeks or months at a time. So photography has kind of adapted with me. Most of what I create now is done from home, often sitting at a table in our dining room, and even then sessions can leave me exhausted for days after. Because my world became smaller physically, photography competitions became one of the ways that I stayed connected to other people and to the creative world. Each month there was something to work towards and somewhere to share my work, a sort of a sense of community and purpose. Those little moments of encouragement and success genuinely meant a lot to me. And competitions also pushed me creatively. They give me goals to aim for, challenges to solve, and reasons to keep learning and improving. And honestly, they helped remind me that despite everything, I was still capable of creating something meaningful. So how it all started. I first started entering competitions back in 2008 on Talk Photography forums, shortly after getting my first DSLR, a Canon 300D. At the time, I was very much a beginner. I entered mostly because the monthly themes encouraged me to try different subjects and learn new skills. To my surprise, I ended up finishing second overall in the Photographer of the Year competition in 2009. And that was probably the first time that I realised competitions could genuinely help me grow as a photographer. Later on, I joined camera clubs in Bristol and in Newcastle. I entered camera club competitions and I started learning from other photographers as well. Around the same time, my frog and reptile photography was becoming quite popular, particularly through reptile shops where I helped people to photograph their animals. And then I joined the SWPP, the Society of Wedding and Portrait Photographers, and that's really where things became more serious. One of the biggest things competitions taught me early on was this: good technical photography alone isn't usually enough. Judges see thousands of technically good images every year. The photographs that really stand out have to have impact, originality, strong lighting, emotion, atmosphere, or a fresh perspective. Over time, I started studying competitions more carefully, looking through the previous winners. analysing trends, paying attention to what judges responded to, and learning how styles evolved over time. I realised different competitions reward very different things. Some favour technical perfection, some favour storytelling, and others reward creativity or originality more heavily. Understanding the competition itself became just as important as the photography. One competition where I approached things very strategically was International Garden Photographer of the Year. Before entering seriously, I spent a huge amount of time studying previous winners across multiple categories and years. I wanted to understand what created impact, what styles were overdone, how colour and lighting were used, and what made certain images memorable. That research and my interests pushed me towards still life and floral photography. I ended up studying classical paintings, textures, composition and lighting techniques. And then I experimented at home, making homemade backdrops, collecting props from charity shops, and slowly learning how to construct more thoughtful images. At first, honestly, the work really wasn't very good, but over time it improved. Eventually, I was fortunate enough to achieve multiple awards, including first places and some finalist and highly commended images across multiple categories. And what this experience taught me was this: preparation matters enormously. Some of my most successful images were planned weeks, months, or even years in advance. Another huge lesson that I learned is that originality matters. Judges look at so many photographs that genuinely fresh ideas can make a massive difference. One example was the ISA Maestro Animal Portrait Competition. Instead of photographing pets or wildlife, I entered a portfolio of focus-stacked taxidermy insect specimens. It was unusual, detailed, colourful, and very different from most of the entries. That portfolio ended up winning first place in the UK, and then it came second place internationally overall. And that experience reinforced something that I still strongly believe, that sometimes standing out matters more than fitting in. People often assume competition success comes down to talent alone, but honestly, organisation and persistence play a massive role too. At one point I was entering so many competitions that I had to keep spreadsheets, tracking categories, previous entries, deadlines, results, and which images had already been used. I spent a huge amount of time refining my edits, checking the details at 200%, preparing the files properly, researching the judging, and learning from failures as well. And there were also plenty of disappointments along the way too. Competitions are subjective. Some images that I absolutely loved achieved nothing. Others exceeded all my expectations, and that's just part of the process. One of the most meaningful experiences for me was with the Guild of Photographers. What I loved most wasn't just the awards, it was the community. The feedback, encouragement, webinars, and the learning environment pushed me to improve more than almost anything else. I entered several categories and I worked incredibly hard preparing my entries each month. Eventually, I attended the awards ceremony for the first time, despite my health making travel extremely difficult. It was the first awards ceremony that I'd ever managed to make in about 15 years. And honestly, it was one of the best nights of my life. I was completely exhausted, I was nervous, and I was running mostly on adrenaline. But this was coupled with so many positives. excitement and meeting people. And somehow I ended up winning overall photographer of the year as well as open photographer of the year. And it still feels surreal thinking about it now. It's an experience that I will never forget. More than the awards though, what stayed with me was finally meeting the people who had been part of my photography journey for years online. That sense of connection, it means a lot, and I plan to stay in touch with many of these wonderful people. The Guild has a very special community. It's warm, friendly, encouraging and supportive, whilst motivating people to follow their photography dreams, but equally fostering a community spirit. So, I've recently taken a big step back from competitions, and that might surprise you. It is partly because my health has become a bit worse, but also I realised that I didn't want my photography to become entirely focused on winning. I need my images to be authentically me. I don't want to just take images for competitions. I had started missing the simple joy of creating for me, and I don't want every image to be judged purely on whether it could win something. I want to experiment more, play more, create images that feel completely authentic to me rather than trying to second guess trends or judging panels. That doesn't mean that I'll never enter a competition again. I almost certainly will, but my priorities have shifted a bit. Right now, I am more interested in creativity, learning and sharing the process through videos like this. My top tips for photography competitions. Well, so after all these years, what advice would I give? Number 1 is research the competition. Study the previous winning images, the judging styles, the category trends. Every competition rewards completely different things. Study previous winning images, the judging styles, the category trends. Every competition rewards different things, so really look into the competition. Number 2 is read the rules properly. It sounds obvious, but so many people lose opportunities because they misunderstand a category or the technical requirements. And number 3 would be aim for impact. Technical quality matters, but it's impact that often makes judges remember an image. That's your X factor. Number 4, develop original ideas. If you can show the judges something that they haven't seen 1,000 times before, then you immediately give yourself an advantage. Now, I know this is a hard one, but I get round this by incorporating my different interests and how I can put them into a photograph. So that's just one idea worth looking at. Number 5 is get honest feedback. A trusted photography friend or a critique group is incredibly valuable. With the Guild of Photographers, I was part of a buddy group, which I found immensely helpful. Number 6, leave the images for a while. Give yourself some time away from an image before entering it, because when you come back to it a month or 2 later, those fresh eyes will help massively, and you will spot things that you didn't see before. It also removes that kind of emotional preciousness about an image that you are really fond of. Number 7 is don't rush your entries. Last minute entries often lead to mistakes or even to weaker choices. We've all done it. We've all rushed in an image rather than miss out. Number 8 is be organised. Track your entries, the deadlines for the competitions, check the categories, and also keep a record of the results too. Number 9, consider keeping unique work private. If you're developing something completely original, sometimes it's worth keeping it quiet until after you've entered it, and then you can share it to your heart's content. Judges look at social media too, and they do sometimes come across your images, so it's much better if a judge sees your image for the first time, especially if it's something completely original. Number 10 is don't take rejection personally. Even brilliant images sometimes don't place. Competitions are subjective. Trends change and judging panels differ. Use those disappointments as a motivation to keep improving rather than a reason to quit. My final thoughts. Competitions have given me so much over the years. Motivation, confidence, friendships, creative growth, purpose during difficult times, and some unforgettable experiences. But the older I get, the more I realise that the awards themselves aren't the most important thing. The most important thing is creating work that genuinely means something to you. Competitions come and go. Trends change. Results are completely forgotten. But photographs that carry real emotion, curiosity, creativity, or personal meaning, those stay with us. Ultimately, that's the kind of work that I want to keep on creating.
The winner, an all-round photographer of the year, drumroll. Andy Wallace. Well done, Andy.